Hello everyone, the topic that I would like to talk with you on our week 8 is about servant leadership. So the initial idea about this is found in the statement putting your team first and yourself second. So what I would like you to have in this topic is to develop servant leadership skills. So before we proceed to discuss about this topic, we will first understand some important terms about this topic. So let's begin with understanding servant leadership. So what is servant leadership? This refers to leadership philosophy in which the main goal of the leader is to serve. This is different from traditional leadership, where the leader's main focus is the thriving of their company or organization. So this is a kind of philosophy, a servant leadership. Then you will also encounter a servant leader. So what is a servant leader? Servant leader focuses primarily on the growth and well-being of the people and the communities to which they belong, while traditional leadership, as we are all familiar with, generally involves the accumulation and exercise of power by one at the top of the pyramid. But servant leadership is different from this. So what is servant leadership? So this term was first coined by Robert K. Greenleaf, 1970. It flips the typical leadership script by putting people ahead of power. No? A servant leader prioritizes the team's growth and well-being, letting their own needs and ambition take a back seat. So here, the priority is more on the people's welfare over your own personal needs and ambition. So a servant leader is a revolutionary bunch. They take, or these people take the traditional power leadership model and turn it completely upside down. So the hierarchy is that on top are the people or the employees in perhaps in a business context. They are at the top, and then the leader at the bottom, and they are in charge with serving the employee or the people above them. So this is how servant leadership is all about. Okay, now let's differentiate servant leadership and traditional leadership. Okay, so a servant leader focuses primarily on the growth and well-being of people and the communities to which they belong, while traditional leadership generally involves the accumulation and exercise of power by one at the top of the pyramid. So servant leadership is different from this. So this means that the priority of the leader of a leader as a servant leader is the people, to serve the people and the community to which they belong, while a traditional leadership, as we are all familiar with, it is really a kind of a leader who wanted to work in order to reach at the top of the pyramid in order to somehow have this power and control over the people. Now here are the 10 key principles of servant leadership. you know. So what does it take to be a servant leader? So servant leaders share a common set of core characteristics. So we have to follow these 10 principles to put servant leadership to work with your team, with your organization. So number one is listening. So listening is at the heart of servant leadership. If a team member is talking, give them your full focus and attention as a leader. No interruption allowed. It's a simple way to make your team or your members or your organizations, the people in your organizations feel valued, so they will know that you really care about them. So that's number one, listening. Number two is empathy. A lot goes into empathy, but when it comes to servant leadership, it basically comes down to getting to know your team, the people in your organization. No? You find out what makes them tick and learn their strengths and weaknesses. That way, you can let your team members or people in your organization shine and maybe even help them turn their weaknesses into strength. Okay, so that's empathy. That's one thing that you are going to develop. Number three is another principle. Number three is healing. What does this mean? Of course, some people who want to be part of your team or some members may come to you from perhaps a previous group of people, from a previous job or from a previous organizations that have a really toxic work environment, and you have the privilege to help them heal. So this is the time that as a servant leader you have to remember that we will help these people being able to experience that healing by encouraging them, like saying, don't worry, it's not as hard as it sounds. So when we speak of healing here, it is just as a leader creating a healthy work environment that has work-life activity, wherein work and life is really balanced. No, it is also about giving the people, the members of the team, the tools they need to succeed, so they feel like a valued member of the team or of the organization. So that's another key principle of servant leadership. Number four is, this is for yourself, self-awareness. The importance of understanding your team's strength and weaknesses is, as already mentioned, but it is not just as important also to have you the so-called self-reflection of your own. Take inventory of your own strengths and weaknesses and figure out how you fit into the overall team. Then use your strength or use yourself in ways that benefit the team and the company. Recognizing your own limitations can help you see opportunities to leverage your team's strength more clearly. So you have to also make some reflection about what's going on inside yourself. Number five, key principle is of servant leadership is persuasion. So servant leaders use persuasion to build consensus and get buy-in from their team. No? In that way, everyone feels like they have a stake in the team's success. So that's also important key principles of servant leadership. Number six is conceptualization. So what does this mean? Here, you've got to know where you're going.